Hello, everybody.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, today we're going to be looking at a deck profile for a big tanky deck. I know that Lucario has been a very popular deck, I would say. Popular for a deck that people don't think is popular, right? Has been a very popular, good deck for countering a lot of the format currently. And I think it still has potential to do that to some degree in the next format too. Because you have things like Eternatus, which is most of the decks I've seen are manual attachment. You also have things like Vikavolt, which is also manual attachment. Doesn't really do a lot of damage. So there's a few archetypes in the new set that are also coming out that I think could still, benefit from a Lucario type variant. So this one I'm looking at is Lucario Scizor, or Scizor, however you want to pronounce it, Scizor VMax. So I took a crack at building that and thought to myself, okay, well, how do we make this as tanky as possible and disruptive and all that stuff as best we can? So yeah, that's this deck profile. If you want to catch the deck in action, there's a video that I posted yesterday that features it versus a Greens Vikavolt. The main things I would say about this deck before I really get into the profile are, look, with Scorch and Charizard and other fire decks still maybe being prevalent, if not more so, and with Metal Frying Pan rotating post-rotation, I think that this could be a challenge. I do have Weakness Guard energies in here. That's really your main out right now. You could look at playing something like the Chandelure that says, your Pokemon don't have weakness. You're looking at a stage 2. I mean, it's nice because all of your Pokemon don't have weakness, right? So just really depends. I'm going for the Weakness Guard energy route though myself. And so you just hope to draw into them. But other than that, I think this deck could be really interesting. So without further ado, I'll just jump into the profile for you. All right. So we have, the man of the hour, if you will. We have Scizor V, however you want to pronounce it. Good V Pokemon. I think its first attack, I don't really know what it does. 30 damage and for 1 metal, which is actually not terrible. And then something. I should do my homework more. You're very rarely going to use this attack. If this is sitting in the active with only 1 energy attached to it at 210 HP, you're not going to end well. It's not going to end well for this Pokemon. So not really what you want sitting in the active in this deck. But we got 3 of those. We got 3 of those there. Then we have 3, just a matching set of the Scizor VMax. Now, Scizor VMax has, I think, 2 actually interesting attacks. Its first attack for just 1 metal and a colorless, which is nice because that Weakness Guard energy can actually be placed onto this guy and you won't have to worry about overloading it with energy. For metal and a colorless, does 90 damage and you prevent 30 damage the next turn from your opponent's attacks. So obviously it's not 30 damage globally, it's just on this Pokemon, so they could gust around it, but it's a juicy 3 prizer sitting in the active, right? So that's the first way that you can sort of start tanking a little bit of damage with this archetype. Now, its second attack does 190 straight up. And that's really not that great. 190 for 2 metal and a colorless. I mean, look, everybody raves about Zacian. And Zacian does 230 for 3 metal. Not even a colorless, 3 metal straight up. So 190 is actually not terrible. And we have some other modifiers in here that can help you get to those higher numbers. So we're gonna say that I think these 2 attacks are actually fairly good with the modifiers in particular. Because if you can get 2 of the modifiers, 2 of the Galarian Berserkers up, then all of a sudden you're hitting 130, which is great for basic single prizers, and 230, which is great for Okoing Zacians on the other end. So, yeah. Got ourselves 3 of the Scizor VMax. Now, obviously, if you want to be a tank, you got to pair this with what is still probably the best GX for tanks in the game, Lucario. We have 2 Lucario Melmetals. Now, the main thing really here is the Full Metal Wall. Full Metal Wall for 2 energy, any type. You can have both weakness guards on there if you really want. But for 2 energy, you reduce the damage to all of your metal Pokemon by 30 for the rest of the game. And if you have that second energy attached, discard all the energy from your opponent's active. That is huge depending on the matchup. So this is really what you want to get going early. Late game, I think it's less valuable, but if you can get it going early, it's great. If you don't even get it going though, between the first attack here and things like Metal Goggles and maybe another thing I have in the deck, you could still reduce a lot of damage. But that's the GX you really want to be focused on using in this game. Now, the rest of the deck is sort of things that help this style of play as best you can. If you're playing Metal, you're obviously going to be playing a Zacian. We have one Zacian V in this deck. Intrepid Sword helps you draw in a variety of matchups, and then 230 damage is just, why would you pass that up, right? Don't pass that up. And then we also have one Zamazenta V, because, you know, VMAXs are going to be more and more prevalent, and especially if you can get this against a VMAX deck and you can reduce damage by 60, you know, or more maybe, against it every turn. It's a super annoying Pokemon to have to go through or go around. So one Zamazenta V. We also have one Duraludon. Duraludon is just a great tech for the Decidueye that's coming out. Also, that Metal Sharpener does 30 and attaches a metal from the discard to one of your Pokemon. So really good attack. Second attack does 110 with a couple of the modifiers you'll see in a second. That adds up to enough to knock out a Decidueye, and it's resistant to Decidueye as well. So all in all, super great. If you get everything rolling with this that you need against Decidueye will be doing 0 damage to you. No joke. So Duraludon. And now let's talk about those damage modifiers I was mentioning. We are running a 2-2 line of Galarian Meowth and Galarian Berserker. This is probably the best deck that I've had, that I've built, that this feels right in. Galarian Meowth has Evolution Roar. You can discard 2 cards from your hand and search your deck for the evolution. You can't play it immediately. So like if you put it on the bench in the turn before, you can go get it and then evolve it. But if you put it on the bench that turn, you can't evolve it. You just go get it into your hand. But it's a really good thing. And what Galarian Berserker does, Galarian Berserker says that your metal Pokemon do 20 more damage. So if you get one of these, you're doing 20 more. If you get 2, you're doing 40 more damage. And 40 more damage is really that sweet spot for numbers in this deck. 40 more damage means Zacian does 270. It means that Scizor VMax does 230 with its main attack, or 130 with its first attack, or 130 or 230. It even means Duraludon does 150. So it's a really good number, and that's why we have 2 in here. This next line is something that you maybe could cut. I think it's fun. I think it's cute. It's a bonus if you get it up, and it's super annoying if you get it up. We have a single line of Aegislash. I have Honedge, Doublade, Aegislash. There might be a different Honedge you want to use. This is just what I had access to easily. But Aegislash has a big shield. And Big Shield says all of your Pokemon take 30 less damage from your opponent's attacks. You can only have one of these, so there's no reason to put, you know, larger lines probably. Again, this is a bonus. If you want to cut this, you can certainly do that. But I have found that, you know, if you pull everything off with this deck, you get 30 reduction from Scizor's first attack, 30 reduction from Luke Metal, 30 reduction from Metal Goggles, and 30 reduction from Aegislash. You're reducing damage by 120. That's insane. So to me, it was worth it just to like throw it in there, and if you get it going, like your opponent's just going to be like going crazy because like they cannot really hit you for much damage. And then finally, we have one copy of Dedenne. One Dedenne in here. You don't really want to put it down, but you might have situations where you need to draw. You have a dead hand. Dedenne is going to help you get out of those dead hands. So a lot of Pokemon in this deck. I could certainly see people making changes, but I liked it when I was playing it. Now we're going to get into the supporters. We have 4 Professor's Research, which lets you discard and draw 7. And then 4 Marnie, because you do want to also disrupt your opponent's hand throughout the game. Marnie will save things like your saucers or goggles or whatever when you don't need them and you don't want to throw them away. So 4/4 line of that is a really good, pretty standard draw engine for a lot of decks. I like it in here. No reason to really throw that balance off. Now, what this deck also can do is play Mallow and Lana. Now, Mallow and Lana lets you switch and heal 120. The only thing that this deck, you know, would maybe struggle with is if somebody had the new Mimikyu that stops bench healing. But, you know, still a good card to put in here. Hyper Potion doesn't make sense because you don't run enough energy acceleration or energy even. So if you want to heal on top of reducing damage by a lot, you could easily say something hits you for 240, which is not, that's a pretty common number, right? If you can reduce all that damage, if you get the perfect setup. So they do 240, minus 120 is 120. Reduce it by 120, their entire attack is just negated. So Mallow and Lana feels good in this deck. We also have 2 Boss's Orders. They might be trying to power something up on the bench, and if you can hit them with the Luke Metal, bring that up is really good. Also, Boss's Order, just great gust. Got to put a couple of them in the deck. And then finally, we have 1 Belelba and Bryson, man, because Eternatus is annoying. And you do want to, if you're playing against it and they get a big bench setup, 270 is still, it's a lot, right? So Belelba Bryson Man helps with that. On top of that, if you can pull up the Belelba Bryson Man at the right moment, you could also, put a Luke Metal that's damaged or a Scizor VMax that's damaged on your bench into the discard straight up. So that also helped me, like getting rid of a Luke Metal and a Dedenne, let's say, so you don't have those big prizes just sitting and waiting there. So I like Belelba and Bryson Man in this deck for a variety of reasons. Now, in terms of the items, you're going to have some pretty standard things. You're going to have 4 Quick Ball here. I also have 2 Pokemon Communication to search out Pokemon. I could see going for more Pokemon Communications in here because, look, there's a lot of different Pokemon. You need some pieces here to get set up. You might find space by cutting this Aegislash line for more Pokemon Communications at least. So that would make sense. Outside of that, you have the basic metal package of 4 metal saucers. And then with this deck, you got some beefy-ish retreat costs in here. You don't want to waste the energy. You don't really have a lot of acceleration. So you're also going to run 4 switch. And we do want to reduce damage. So we are running 3 of the metal goggles. The metal goggles stops things like damage counters being placed on those Pokemon from your opponent's attacks. Also, and abilities. Also does 30 less damage. So no more metal frying pan post rotation, but we do have metal goggles. So we're going to run 3 of those in here. And then finally, you do want some stadium disruption. This deck does not have any stadiums that I think it needs to play. If you really wanted, you could maybe play something like a Mount Coronet. I don't know if that rotates. I don't know. Maybe I don't think it does. I could be wrong, but Mount Coronet or Trading Corp might be good because, you may have some energy lost if things get knocked out, and there's not a ton of energy in this deck, so I could see playing that maybe. But Mount Coronet helps you and you alone usually, but Trading Court can help your opponent. You don't really want that if you're going to be using Luke Metal. So, yeah, that's all the trainers. And now we get to the energy, and you can see now, like, the energy count is a little low. That could also be something you find space for. We have 7 metal energy, just 7 metal. Now, I'll tell you the reasoning for that. It's because Luke Metal, Scizor, Zamazenta, and even Duraludon have colorless costs in their attacks. All of their attacks have some colorless cost to it. So you don't need all metal energy like you do with a normal Zacian deck. Because Zacian, you need all 3 of them to be metal. So I figured cutting down the metal was fair, and that makes perfect space for 3 weakness guard energies. This is critical, especially if Centiskorch is going to be running around out there. So yeah, 3 weakness guards felt about right. I could usually find them when I was playing around with the deck, but might even bump that up to a count of 4 if you see a ton of Centiskorch. But yeah, that is the deck profile. I think it's an interesting deck. I don't know, frankly, if it's a top tier deck. I don't think it probably is. But I think with changes to this, based on what the meta is, I think you can see similar success to the way that Luke Metal is seeing success right now. Maybe you go with a Guzman Hala build so you can grab Goggles, Weakness Guard, and something else. Like, that might be interesting as well. So yeah, just some thoughts on the deck, and yeah, let me know what you think about the deck profile. Check out the battle video from yesterday, and that's gonna do it for my post-rotation deck profiles like this for a while. I'm gonna be moving into a POG, the Pokemon Online Global Championship 2020 format, which is Ultra Prism to Darkness Ablaze, so much bigger set. So I'm gonna do that for the next few weeks, but this is going to wrap it for these videos, these kinds of videos, at least until the full set comes out at the end of August. Well, the full set comes out and after the POG 2020. So I'll talk about POG 2020 in future videos, so subscribe if you want to see that and the decks that I'm running for that. You can also find me on Twitch where I stream some of this stuff, and I'll be streaming stuff on Tabletop Simulator, I believe. So go check that out. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I will catch y'all in a future video. Carpe awesome.